For more on the crisis there, I spoke to Juan Carlos Hidalgo from the CATO Institute, and I asked him how the country or territory got into this mess.
It's not just a typical debt crisis where the government spent too much. The debt, the public debt, went from 60% of GDP to 100% of GDP in just 15 years. But behind that, we also have a terrible loss of competitiveness, one of the lowest labor participation rates in the Western Hemisphere. Only 40% of people in Puerto Rico in the age of working actually work. We have terrible cost of doing business in the island, high prices of utilities, electricity bills, foodstuff. Overall, it means that Puerto Rico is a terrible place to do business, it's a terrible place to live. Tens of thousands of Puerto Ricans are leaving the island, and these all compound with this big problem they have.
So I'm in the business of blaming and shaming people, okay?
Yeah.
So if it's a terrible place to do business and it's a terrible place to live, isn't it the government's fault there? And I know, look, it's a U.S. territory, but they have their own government still. They still have their own people that are in charge. Are they to blame for all this mess?
Indeed. Let's go by pieces. Let's look at the debt problem, of course. Then it's the problem of the local government, of the state government, that spent too much for so long. And now they need to cut back spending. They have refused to cut spending. They have preferred raising taxes, and that has added to the problems of the island.
So you're saying because they raise taxes, and we hear a similar situation in France, by the way, when you raise taxes too much, at some point it discourages people, number one, from working, number two, from simply wanting to live there.
Indeed, and it's very easy for Puerto Ricans to leave the island. Let's remember they're U.S. citizens.
They can go anywhere they want in the U.S.
They can go to anywhere they want, and they have been going to Florida mostly, but they also to other places of the United States.
So they're really competing against the 50 other states.
In the last decade, Puerto Rico has lost 10% of its population. So it's very easy for Puerto Ricans to leave. So raising taxes is an option that can go as much far. You know, it cannot go that much far. Yeah. And when it comes to the other problems of the island, well, it's a combination also of federal policy. Let's remember that Puerto Rico is a special territory within the Union. Some of the laws of the federal government apply to Puerto Rico. For example, the minimum wage. Puerto Rico's minimum wage is the same as the mainland.
You would think that would be good.
You would think that would be good,
right?
Except by the fact that Puerto Rico's...
They can't compete.
Yeah, income per capita is too low compared to the mainland.
What I hear from experts is that they should be allowed to go bankrupt, essentially, like any other entity. And I'm torn by this because I don't necessarily think it's a great idea, but I want to get your view. Why can't they go bankrupt? And would that even be good for them?
Well, Chapter 9, which is the law that applies to bankruptcy in the United States, doesn't apply to Puerto Rico. So they need to start negotiating with every single creditor regarding the deal that they want to make in order for payments and the extension of maturities and so on. So I'm opposed to granting Puerto Rico the benefits of Chapter 9 because that will take the pressure off the Puerto Rican authorities to deal with the other problems, economic problems.
It's a game of, but isn't it a game of chicken? I mean, look, by the way, Congress is the one that has to authorize this,
Indeed.
Correct?
And there is no eagerness in Congress to discuss this.
All right, can we have something positive out of this? Is there any? There's a plan that's going to be coming out. I'm sure you'll not like it, or at least most of it. But there's got to be good parts to the plan, right? If they were to change their minds now, they were to lower taxes, they were to make some adjustments to their economy, make the reforms that people like you have been asking, would that be enough, or is it too late, and what's next?
I would like to see reforms, for sure. But we need some bold decisions, both in San Juan and in Washington. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that so far. You know, like there have been plenty of studies analyzing the situation of the Puerto Rican economy. One was made by the Federal Reserve in New York. One was made recently by Ann Kruger, the former economist from the IMF. They all have pointed at the same problems of Puerto Rico, the one we named, debt and so on. You know what? The latest report by Ann Kruger was very specific about all the changes that need to be made, all the reforms that we need to be implemented in Puerto Rico. The governor of Puerto Rico, he said, well, I will only take the recommendations regarding Chapter 9, and I won't take the recommendations regarding lowering spending, making the economy more competitive, and trying to introduce some flexibility to the labor market.
All right, look. What if I put you in charge of Puerto Rico tomorrow, okay? Oof. And I give you 1 day to fix it. What's the one thing you'd do immediately?
I will do something regarding the labor market You cannot reignite the economy as long as only 40% of the people in age of working are actually working. And let's remember that of those 40%, a quarter, almost a quarter, work in the public sector.